Is America a Christian nation? Yes or no? And why does it matter?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to take the position that yes, it is a Christian nation because it's based upon Christian ideals. And the cultural mindset at that time of the founders, even if they themselves weren't necessarily Christians, they lived in a culturally Christian mindset. And so that the way that the world was structured, the norms and the values, what people expected, how people thought others should be treated, it came from a Christian mindset. It came from an understanding that the world was created by God, that there was an almighty power that was in control, and that there was a providence being played out in the midst of what was taking place in the colonies at that time as well. The second thing I would point to, just from a very practical perspective, though, while our Constitution doesn't necessarily say anything of the nature that, we're a Christian nature, if you go to each one of the state legislators and the founding documents of those states, many of those states, like Virginia, for example, said, we exist for the propagation of the gospel. So
Still to this day,
that's a great question. I'd have to check
but
what
at
their
least back in
state.
the day for sure.
Yeah, when they were founded, those state constitutions said, we exist for the propagation of the gospel. They're here to share Jesus Christ. So those individual states believed not only in an almighty creator, but in Jesus Christ himself. The other thing is, you'll look at some of the articulation between or behind the Declaration of Independence as well. Those ideas, they don't just come out of the blue, right? And so if you're familiar with William Blackstone, if you're familiar with some of the thinkers, even Thomas Jefferson was borrowing from, if you're familiar with the individual letters that the founders were writing back and forth to each other, they're quoting natural law. They're quoting the scriptures. So these people had a very deep and rich understanding and appreciation that what they were building here in the United States of America came from somewhere, and it came from this belief in an almighty God who is in control of the universe. And ultimately, they were formed very much by their culture, which was a culture of Christianity at that time here in the early Americas.
I would have said that all the founders were Christian, but you
Mhm.
said even if they weren't Christian, were some of them not Christian?
Yeah, I mean, there's some evidence to say that some were Masons, that they kind of believe that there's many different paths to God, that there's maybe some value in each different religion to a certain extent. Jefferson is famous for being more of a rationalist, where he actually took out the miracles that Jesus did in his Bible, and so his approach or his thought was, yeah, I like this Jesus guy, I like his teaching, but this miracle stuff, that's just kind of crazy, right? So, I think each one of the founders, we'd have to go through each one,
Yeah.
have a different understanding of Jesus and who Jesus was. There's probably some that are just intensely Christian. We know that for sure. I mean, John Carroll, for example, the first Catholic bishop of the United States, obviously very Christian, very Catholic. But each of them, I think we're like each one of us are on our own journey. So when we say they were Christian, well, what does that mean? Right. And I think that means a little bit different for each one of them at that time.
That's a great insight.